Exactly 2 minutes past 5 p.m. Central African time. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. It is the weekend edition of the Iftar Drive hosted by myself, Zahid Jadwood. And of course, this is now the second hour of the show as we count down towards Iftar later on this evening. Let's move on to our next segment, and that is, of course, the one it's called the Iftar table. And this is rather something new. We haven't done this in previous years, at least on the weekend edition of this show. And for that, I am excited to introduce you to Sister Ruhana Ebrahim. She is a food content producer and lots of exciting stuff going on in her kitchen, I'm sure. Assalamu alaikum. Shukran so much for taking the time to join us this afternoon.
Walaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me on the show.
All right. So it certainly is a pleasure to have you on the show. And, you will be with us every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays at the same time we'll get into that shortly. But you are certainly someone many people might have heard of. Especially if they are inclined to following those very many recipe pages on social media. I think we can just start with an introduction as to who you are and what's your interest in cooking.
So I'm a food content creator, as you said, but I'm also a food stylist, and I do work for a lot of brands and private businesses in their websites and their content as well for social media. So that's actually my job.
Mm. I mean, what sparked your interest into this particular field?
So my first love has always been interior design. That's what I'm qualified as. But after I gotten married and moved to my husband's hometown, there was no scope for me to do interior design there. And unfortunately, I just had to do something else. And I ended up doing a private catering. And alhamdulillah, went well. And I started food blogging. And then food blogging was more of a way for me to have a connection to my mom because I was 10 hours away from her. And that's how it started. And that's how the passion grew. It was more to connect to her than the actual cooking.
Mm. That's quite interesting and quite touching to hear that you've used food as a way of connecting with your mum over great distance. But without much further ado, I think let's jump straight into it. And of course, this segment is about recipes. It's about everything to do with the kitchen. And it is called the Iftar table, with good reason. And I do apologize in advance if you hear any weird sounds. We are getting closer to Iftar and we are talking about food. So, the tummy. So, yeah, Bismillah, I think you can take it from here.
Okay, so just like how in everything, like in fashion and whatever, you always have trends going on. So at the moment, there's a trend that's going on with kajur. So we break our fast with dates. There's a thing called viral date that's become very popular in everybody's homes, and it's very easy to use. There's different ways in which you can do the viral date pack. I'll explain to you the variations, but the most simple is and the most healthiest is to use medjool dates, peanut butter, almonds, and dark chocolate. So that's the way I'm going to share with you, then the variations on it. So for the viral date pack, you need 24 normal size medjool dates. You need half a cup of peanut butter that's warmed because you're going to be spreading it. So it has to be warmed. A half a cup of chopped up, and slabs, ordinary slabs, or one large slab of dark chocolate that's also melted. So you're going to line a normal sheet pan, a regular size sheet pan, or with baking pan, and then you're going to cut the dates into half. You're going to butterfly it. You're going to remove the seed and you're going to place it onto the tray. And as you're placing it, you're going to make sure that the seed is not You're going to place it close to gain of 6. So you get your 24 kajur. And then you're going to place another sheet of baking paper on top, and you're going to press it down so it like squishes. Going to pour over the peanut butter, then the melted chocolate you sprinkle on your nuts. It's as easy as that. You just place it into the freezer and you let it set for at least into shards, and you keep it in the fridge and you eat it as you like it. You can even have it at Seri time. It's a good energy booster. So that's the one
Mm.
recipe. The second recipe,
Yeah.
a lot of us love
Sister Rohani,
Middle Eastern cuisine. Ramadan.
yes, I think that's certainly something. It's a good thing you linked this to something that's trending, and I think lots of people are going to be interested in getting that and trying that out. Before we go to the next recipe, if I may just ask you to perhaps turn off your camera because I think we seem to be having some network issues. So as soon as you've done that, then we can continue.
One second.
Okay. Think Sister Rohana seems to be having connectivity issues at the moment. And while she gets that sorted out, um, we can just have a chat and a bit of a recap as to what we've been discussing on the show this afternoon. Of course, we started off with a conversation around dryness, the climate in South Africa. And I'm sure if you have been anywhere around Joburg. I'm not sure how far elsewhere this extends, but I know for sure in Joburg, it's been extremely hot this week, and it doesn't look like this might abate anytime soon. In fact, we're seeing temperatures all the way to 30 degrees and above, continuing throughout the month, and only really cooling off once April begins. So that, of course, spelling some trouble for food security, not least in South Africa, but in our neighboring countries as well, Zambia, Zimbabwe, where we're looking at crop production yields dipping. And we spoke to Wandilesi Shlobo from Stellenbosch University as to how South Africa might be able to deal with this in the coming months. He says it's not going to be a very easy time for us. Um, then, of course, we spoke to Associate Professor Anis Bayrakli coming out of Turkey, and he was speaking about Islamophobia. Yesterday, as we know, was the 5th anniversary of the Christchurch masjid shootings. And yeah, the UN, I think it was, that has now declared the 15th of March to be the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. And that, of course, is why we were discussing that. Um, I think not a very positive picture, but painted by Professor Banackley, but certainly one that we as a Muslim Ummah collectively need to act upon. We are now joined once again by Sister Ruhana Ebrahim. I think we've got her on the phone now. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ruhana. Can we just confirm that all is well? Assalamu alaikum. Welcome.
Walaikum assalam. Gee, I'm back on.
Okay, I really apologize to yourself as well as the listeners for that. Um,
No
yeah,
problem.
I mean, you were giving us one of the latest trends in the kitchen, and you were about to
Yes.
move on to the next recipe for this
Uh,
segment. This is, of
I
course, the iftar.
completely forgot actually. I
Yes.
needed to share with variations. So the different variations could be you could add pretzels to the back of the bark, which is the chocolate. You could do rose and pistachio. You could add strawberries slices onto the chocolate. Obviously, if you're using fresh fruit, it wouldn't keep as long. You could use pistachio cream instead of the peanut butter. You could use lotus biscoff. You could use chocolate spreads. Anything. It's very versatile that you can use it, and it stays in the fridge up to 3 days if you're not using the fresh fruit. So it's something that you can make beforehand and keep for yourself and your family to enjoy.
Lovely. We love the kind of dessert variation. So Ramadan not always and exclusively about savories, but also desserts. And we can take fruits, we can take dates, and we can mix stuff up. And that is what's great about the kitchen, right? And yeah, it's lovely. Let's move on now to the next recipe. What else have you got for us this afternoon?
Yes, so as we were saying before, most of our households, we love to have Middle Eastern themed kind of starters as well because it's very refreshing. And especially now in heat, as Ramadan is moving now into summer, it's very hot. So lighter starters are better. So one of the starters that we have in our home is something called a loaded hummus. So hummus, I'm sure everybody knows what is hummus by now. Hummus is something that is can be used as a dip. You can use it if you incorporate in a main meal as well. So we're going to be using it like a dip, where we're going to have our toasted pitas with it, and we're going to load on lots of veggies onto the hummus, so it's more filling, and it's a healthier version, a healthier starter. So for our loaded hummus, we're going to use 1 can of chickpeas, and we're going to drain and rinse the chickpeas out. We're going to place this all into a food processor. So you're going to put your chickpeas in, then you're going to add in one garlic clove. You could use ready-made garlic paste. I would leave that totally up to you how much garlic you want to add. Then a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 2 to 4 tablespoons of tahini paste. Tahini paste is basically toasted sesame seeds that's ground up into a paste. And if you don't have tahini paste, it's very, very easy to make your own. As I said, you just dry toast the sesame seeds and you make it into a paste. And then you need to add 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt, 2 tablespoons of iced water, a half a teaspoon of salt, and then 4 ice cubes. So the ice water and the ice cubes is what gives that lovely texture to the hummus when you're blending it. And then once you've blended it, you just spread it onto a serving platter. And then you're going to top it up with either sun-dried tomatoes or halved baby tomatoes, chopped cucumber, chopped red onion. You could even slice your onions very fine, thin, and spice it with a bit of sumac spice, which is another Middle Eastern spice. You can chop it with olives, chopped parsley, pine nuts, pine kernels, pomegranate. You can also use feta cheese. And then once you've put all your topping on top, you're going to drizzle on a good olive oil. That is like the main thing onto your dip. And then you can sprinkle on some paprika. It's that easy. You can even prepare it in advance, and you could leave it in the fridge if you want it chilled.
Lovely. I love the Mediterranean twist to that.
Mhm.
And then, of course, just before time runs out, what else have we got?
I have the dessert. So everybody wants their toasted out sweets. Everybody wants a little bit sweet thing. So not many people have a lot of time in between to prepare things. So this is a no-bake tristlech cake. Tristlech means three milk. So all you need is a store-bought Madeira loaf. You slice it up into even slices and you place it down into a Pyrex dish. And you just poke holes with a knife or a skewer all over. And then in a pan, you're going to add in a tin of dessert cream. If you are opting to not buy dessert cream at the moment, there are other options. You can use rainbow milk, you can use evaporated milk, then half a tin of condensed milk and half a cup of normal milk. And you're going to add to that half a teaspoon of cardamom powder, ilachi powder, a good pinch of saffron thread, and a few drops of rose essence. And you're going to let this heat through for a little while so that the saffron blooms in it. And then you're going to cool it down to room temperature and you're going to pour it over your cake. And then you're going to just pipe on some whipped cream, pop it into the fridge. And when you take it out to serve, you can just sprinkle on a bit of almonds and a bit of pistachios. And there you've got a ready instant chocolate cake. And this is in a ras malai flavor.
Excellent. Shukran so much for that. And I'm sure many people will be keen to try that out in their kitchens if they haven't already. But it was great hearing from you, and I think this is an exciting segment moving forward as we continue with the show throughout Ramadan. Yeah, never mind the hiccups that we had initially with the network connectivity. I think it's much better on the telephonic line now. So, shukran so much for that and for giving us your time this afternoon.
So that's having me on the show, and I would really appreciate if you guys do send me messages and let me know if you've tried it, and but keep me all in your du'as, inshallah.
Absolutely. And I think if anyone wishes to provide feedback, they can, of course, come back to us at Salam Media 0617660355. And I think I might just ask you to share your social media as well, if anyone wishes to get in
They
touch with
can
you.
find me on Instagram at Mama Taught Me Well, Mama underscore taught underscore me underscore well, Mama Taught Me Well. Or you can find me, I've just started to go back onto TikTok. You can find me at Ruhana underscore Ebrahim.
Excellent. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Shukran so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And now from the kitchen, we go to the musalla. And that, of course, now bringing us to Asr time. The Asr Adhan will play out. And when we get back, we continue with the show. Stay tuned.